leads me to my theory. Allow me to share with you. I called it inevitability of peace between China and the United States. Now, whether the United States like China or not, that's another thing. But China and the United States eventually will need to live in peace. Whatever problems they have, they need to resolve them in peace, in negotiation, in diplomacy. That's why, if you have not watched the Victory Day parade in Beijing on September the 3rd, one of the weapons China demonstrated is a missile with all the warheads. We call it 61 because it can contain 60 nuclear warheads plus one hydrogen bomb. Now, in the world of today, let me tell you, which country has hydrogen bomb? China is the only country with hydrogen bomb. And that ICBM can cover every corner of the world in less than 20 minutes and destroy any target in any corner of the world without any possibility of being intercepted. I hope Washington has learned the lesson. They know, as I declared in my interview with Abrams of the United States, very distinguished American, I basically told him, if you want to have war, you will get war. If you want to destroy China, you will be destroyed. If you want to impose nuclear war on China, you will be wiped out by nuclear war. This is very serious. China's policy is very clear. China will not fire the first shot, but China will not allow you to fire the second shot. That's why, while I'm pained to see the confrontation between China and the Philippines and the South China Sea, I also feel blessed that they are only using water cannons against each other. Make no mistake, China has more lethal things than water cannons. But I hope we will only use water cannon and we will not escalate and we will never use real ammunition between China and the Philippines. Now, Mr. Abrams also challenged me, saying that China's military buildup is a challenge, a threat to our neighboring countries. I told him point blank, no country in China's neighborhood is a match against China in terms of military power. China's military buildup is a matchup against only one country, that is the United States. China will never allow the United States to launch a war against China, conventional or nuclear, without suffering devastating consequences. Now, I mention this with one purpose. I hope people in China and people here in the Philippines will look at ourselves and each other as friends, rather than as enemies. I don't believe there is any one single enemy in China against the Philippines. We all love Philippines. Everyone I know wants to come to Philippines as a tourist, for example, to taste your beautiful cuisine. And there are so many things of great interest, great attraction to the Philippines. And if the Philippines is really committed to treating development as the hard truth, to build up job connectivity, financial connectivity, technological connectivity, and also AI connectivity of all kinds, let me tell you, China is the best country for you to work with, because China has the largest financial pool, China has the largest manufacturing capabilities, and China can really work with the Philippines completely as equal. We will not look down upon the Philippines. We will look at the Filipino people individually, as a nation, as a country, completely as equals. We will never hold a gun at anyone in the Philippines. That is the reality. Now, the United States is great in many other senses, of course, but do you really think the United States will come to the Philippines with money and with manufacturing contribution? They are really depleting their own manufacturing capabilities. Their shipbuilding is really a shadow of what it used to be. And they are now working with the Republic of Korea to make up for the deficiencies in the United States for their manufacturing deficiencies. Allow me also to mention, because whenever I come to the Philippines, many people in the Philippines talk about arbitration. I am an arbitrator in an arbitration tribunal. It's called Asian International Arbitration Tribunal, headquartered in Singapore. The story is too long. I do not want to go into details to avoid bothering you. But allow me just to make one point. Arbitration without consent is a violation of the rule of law. I say this as an alumni from the law school. I say this as an attorney at law, licensed in the state of New York. I also say this as a Chinese national. I can bring you to court, whether you agree it or not. But I will never be able to drag you into arbitration without your consent. Because arbitration without consent is a violation of rule of law. So no one in the world should expect and indulge in the fantasy that you can drag one country, not a small country, not an inconsequential country. It's a big country. It's one of the countries which made the biggest contribution to defeating fascism in 1945 into arbitration without its consent. Come on, you don't want to do that. You do not want to violate the basic tenet of the rule of law. So, I hope you will walk away from today's meeting believing, as I have always believed, arbitration without consent is a violation of the rule of law. We want to have rule of law, but we don't want to have arbitration without consent. And that is also a very important thing. I also want to mention one thing which you may consider that as controversial. Because I mentioned President Taft, the first governor of the United States in the Philippines, and I kept reading the Spanish-American Treaty of 1898. Now, if you go to that treaty, in English as well as in Spanish, there is one very explicit clause saying the territory of the Philippines to be transferred by the Empire of Spain to the United States of America on the west side of the territory should not go beyond 118° longitude. That means that treaty, which is the birthright of the Philippines in the modern time, had its western border clearly defined, carved in stone in that Spanish-American Treaty of 1898. So I hope no one in the world should be pretending that they cannot read the Spanish-American Treaty of 1898. I read it many times, partially because I knew Governor Taft was very much involved in coming up with all the rules and the regulations for the Philippines after the takeover of the Philippines by the United States from Spain in 1898. So I think when we really talk about the realities in the world, we need to go back into history. And as far as the Philippines is concerned, we, from the Chinese perspective, I do not need to go all the way into antiquity, into 1,000 years ago, 5,000 years ago. No, we just need to go back to 1898. We just need to look at the fateful thing which happened in 1898, when Spain transferred the totality of the territory of the Philippines to the United States of America. And soon afterwards, Mr. Taft became the first governor of the United States of America in the Philippines. Now, I mention all this with only one purpose. That is, for me, Philippines is and will always be a friendly country for my motherland, and I will always urge for friendship between China and the Philippines. When we look at the title of our meeting today, Continuing Peace and Continuing Security, I thought one word was missing. that is sustainable development. Because we need peace and security for their own purposes, but without peace and security, we cannot develop. So I think between China and the Philippines, we need peace, we need security, we need to have the legitimate border boundary of the Philippines protected legally, and we want to have sustainable development for the Philippines. I really